Hey everybody, welcome back. I've been real excited about this video. This was actually the first video I had planned on doing, but had some delays, and so I was getting the other two videos up first. So this now, so I've been looking forward to one of my favorite heroes, especially in the Marvel Universe, is Iron Man. And so when it came time, Marvel Legends over the years have done, uh, you know, a lot of Iron Man figures. So trying to collect all would be near impossible. But what I wanted to do is I decided I was going to focus on when they did one to try to collect the first 13 models of Iron Man armor. And the reason why that is like the beginnings, and then model 13 was in the 90s when I kind of finished up with that, and they started doing other things. My interest kind of waned a little bit, so I always loved those first 13, and then a few more after that. I'll do a second video on my favorite post 13 models. So without further ado, let's get into this. So the Marvel Legends Iron Man models 1 through 13, I kind of had some parameters for this. It's the comic armors only in the 616 universe, so I'm not doing alternate universe ones or anything past this one. So it's covered the years 1962 when Iron Man first appeared to 1994. I'm also focusing on Marvel Legends as produced by Hasbro. Toy Biz did a lot of the Marvel Legends Iron Man figures, so none of these are included in this or any other third-party companies. It's just the ones that so far that Hasbro's produced. Also, these represent the closest approximation to the comic design, especially the earlier models. We know Hasbro loves to reuse items and molds, and so sometimes they don't get the details correct. So some of these we had to go by. This is the closest approximation to the comic design. And plus, there were some kind of wonky things in the comic design early on. All comic art I pulled off the Marvel database, the wiki, and so I'm claiming fair use on all of that. Then all the photos of the armor of the Hasbro Legends the Hasbro armor is mine for my own collection personally. So let's start with Model 1, the original iron suit. This was surprisingly one it took them a while to get to. This was the Model 1 finally version was released in the Avengers Anniversary Wave, I think a year or so ago. We finally took us all together. It was a very, very good design. Then next, if we're going to have the Model 1, there was actually a second Model 1 later on, which was the Golden Avenger, where they made just a slight change in paint one. The biggest one was painting him gold, and then the second was adding that little that skirt. And this one was very quick. Once they had the Model 1 armor, the mold, you knew that the Golden Avenger was coming. This one came from the retro Iron Man retro carded wave from their animated series line with that. Next, this was kind of one we had to wait for a while. This is the Model 2 armor, also known as the Steve Ditko armor. This was as we got into what eventually became more of the classic signs of an Iron Man armor, the red and the gold motif. Also, you had the mask on the armor was had like a horn feature, and also the grill on the covering the mouth. So the closest approximation that was this. This was from the Hasbro, the Marvel Legends 20th anniversary, celebrating Marvel Legends going back to the Toy Biz, and they're recreating the first wave of the Toy Biz line. So they did this version over here. Which is really good. The only difference is they used the Model 4 torso. So the two little dots on the top of the armor, emitters on top of the armor, are at the top of the chest, whereas in the Model 2 armor, they're actually at the they're below the repulsor, the chest repulsor with that. Then we have the Model 3 armor. This is one that was very hard for me to source because again, they keep reusing parts, and sometimes they would do things that would go back and forth. So you see the Model 3 armor, also called the Shellhead armor, as well, had two kind of versions to it. The comic version is that so sleek that Model 2 body. The head design where they kind of got the more traditional face mask, but before that, at the beginning, in the Marvel Legends, this is the mask had a nose multitude, and just because it was an error on the description of the Iron Man, and so people did kind of like that, so we went to the flat face you see there on the right. Again, the Marvel Legends, this is from the 80th Marvel Legends 80th anniversary for Marvel Comics. It came with 2 heads. It's basically the Mark IV body with the Mark IV head, but they also included the Mark III head with the nose. So that's become my Model 3 armor. Next is now the classic Iron Man armor, the Model 4. This is the one he was in the longest. The suit he had for the longest time. This was the iconic suit that really set the precedence for what Iron Man was going to look like. They made several versions of this throughout the years. So the one that I have in my collection, which I thought was the best representation of it, this is from the Ursa Major wave, which was basically a whole Iron Man themed wave. And the Model 4 armor, and this is the one that came with the holographic AI Tony Stark head as well. So I thought this was going to be, as I looked at all this, is my best representation I'm going to have in my collection for the Model 4. So moving on to the next one is one they have not produced yet in the Marvel Legends line, is the Model 5, which is the space armor. It's kind of ironic they actually have all the parts between several different Iron Man molds to create the space armor. They just haven't done it yet for whatever reason. So I'll be looking forward to if they ever do that one to add to my to fill in that gap in that collection. So the next slide is another one they have not produced yet, which is the Model 6, the Hydra armor. This is one I do not see them actually doing because they would require a lot of new mold materials in there. I can't think of anything they currently have that they could reuse to create this armor. So that was one I always thought it was weird that you had the diving helmet on with the bubble and the Iron Man mask underneath there. Next up is the Model 7 armor, which was the famous stealth armor, which was basically, it's a repaint of the Model 4 armor. In the comics, in the comic art, it shows it all black, but as we know back then, with the color system, that was actually, they would do it in a very dark blue with like cross hashing into the black. So when they came out with the actual figure, and this is one that's been done several times in several different molds, but this is my favorite body mold. This is the stealth armor that came from that Ursa Major wave. So they reused the same armor twice in that wave, just a different color, but it fits. And then, to me, that's the best representation so far that Hasbro has done of the stealth armor. Coming in at number 8 is the famous Silver Centurion model. This is where it kind of went for a little departure. They went from the red and gold to the red and silver. This was used a lot during the 80s. I think this is the main armor they used in the famous Armor Wars arc as well. The version that I use from the Legends line is this is the Walgreens exclusive Centurion that came with a lot of blast effects for this really great model. They redid this one for the West Coast Avengers pack of figures, which I might get that something because it's more of a comic book color art, but I just love this in the if I want to have a Silver Centurion in my collection, I think he should have silver in it. Then going into model number 9, this is the Neo Classic armor. This is when he went back to this. This is during the time in the comics that his armors were killing him, so he was always struggling to use the armor but also to stay alive. With it, they did a version of this armor with the bulky boots, bulky gauntlets. They did a version of this armor during the Iron Man 3 wave they did a while back, but for some reason the classic Iron Man figures were like shorter than the others. So finally, finally they came out in this most recent retro carded wave for the anime series. They came out with a proper Model 9 armor, which is once I've got that, I chunk the other one and put this in my collection as the best representation as well. Then we have the Model 10 armor, which is another space armor. So Space Armor 2. This is one that they have not produced yet. This is a version that he used a lot during the one of my favorite Avengers arcs, Operation Galactic Storm. During that time, is a space armor. Again, this is probably something they could put together with some minimal retooling of past parts and pieces. Just they have not done that yet. Hopefully, I would like to see the space armors and the Hydra armor maybe come out in another retro carded wave, which would be really, really cool. And then number 11, model 11, is the War Machine armor. This is one that he invented. A lot of people, we attribute this to Rhodey, because that's Rhodey's armor. Rhodey over time had, which is his friend, had used the Iron Man armors in place to take over for Tony time to time. But this is the first one that Tony gave him specifically for him. But originally Tony made it for himself as a high combat armor. It was the first time he was really turning the Iron Man armor into a weapons system. He used it briefly. Then in the comic, he died, and he faked his death, but they gave the model of War Machine to Rhodey. So there's two versions of this armor that's been out. This version I have right here came from the Retro Carded collection for Iron Man, and it's the more black and white armor. I have a very nice the black and silver one they did a few years ago as a deluxe figure that I have as well, and this is all part of my War Machine collection as well, that I'll do a video sometime in the future on. And now we get to the Model 12, which was the telepresence unit. A lot of people aren't familiar with this model. This was one. This was one where Tony Stark he had faked his death and came back to life, but he couldn't move because he had completely rewrote his nervous system. So for a while he operated with a fully robotic Iron Man suit where he controlled through virtual reality as well. So this was one called telepresence. This is one, again, going back to the best approximation. The Marvel Legends figure that came out. Came out when they did the retro carded line. That was more for the first Toy Biz 6-inch line that they did, I think. Well, not the 6-inch, but before the old Toy Biz on the old card backs with the old Wolverine and the Pizza Spidey and all that. So again, they almost got everything details right. The biggest detail was the faceplate is wrong. They used another head on it, just a standard head, instead of doing the one with a completely flat head with that. And then going from the telepresence unit to one of my second favorite Iron Man armor after War Machine is the Model 13. This is the modular armor. This is the armor that was made famous because this was the model they used predominantly in the Iron Man cartoon in the 90s as well. It was a very sleek armor with that. Again, this one came out of that Ursa Major wave again. I believe that I've been waiting a long time for this armor because this is a really great armor. The concept that was a modular armor was that one, you could break this out into a suitcase and carry it around, and then also too all the little yellow things were supposed to be connection points. So no longer was he going to do supposedly going to do specialized suits for things. He would be able to attach modules, mission modules for those suits. Those were connection points to that. This is really good. I like the gold and the red. There's another version of that with the brighter comic book gold, yellow, and red that was part of a retro carded Capcom version of how it looked in the Capcom Marvel game. So over the years, it took a while to kind of get these things solid and identify certain things because artists would draw things differently, and not every time they deviated from the main view did they determine it was a completely new model of armor, especially in the early the 2, 3, and 4. And sometimes artists would draw them a little different. So what they did is they kind of went back and did a rearranging of some of the numbers a little bit on this. And some of them would be you have the Model 2 modification 1 is what they call it, stuff like that. So this next armor up here originally was designated the Model 14 armor for years. And then they went back in and they redid the whole thing. And now it's a Model 13, but it's because it fits into the modular armor scheme, even though it doesn't look like it. And that is the first Hulkbuster model. This is considered the Model 13, but the Hulkbuster. So the idea was in the comics, this happens. You had the Model 13 armor, and then that this was actually a suit for a suit. So the Model 13 armor actually climbed into the Hulkbuster suit. So what they've done is over the years they can set this on the Model 14 because it's dependent upon this actual wearing the Model 13 suit to operate. And so they redid this as the Model 13, but the Hulkbuster of it. This is one that in the old Iron Man carded line was a favorite of mine because you could put the piece of armor on it on the base suit. I had the Toy Biz version of it for years, which is a good one. Then when Hasbro took over, they never did one until just recently. It was part of the 85th anniversary line that we have a Model 13, a good version of the Hulkbuster. And I have the MCU Hulkbuster as well. I just love this suit, this idea that, and this is his very first suit that was specifically designed to fight a certain person, or a certain hero. The Hulkbuster, and since then he's gone on, he's done a Thor Buster armor and a few other armors as well. So with that, the original 13 Iron Man suits that I have in my collection, except for the gaps of 5, 6, and 10 there, which hopefully they make those. I would love to see them make those suits. And I would add them to my collection. They, hopefully within the year, especially now they do the retro carded collection, they need to add more earlier Iron Man. The recent retro card they did a Model 20, which is weird why you do that on a retro card, because that wasn't around during the time the retro cards were supposed to reflect the cartoon, that 90s cartoon era. But there's many other options of suits, and I've got several suits that are post the 13 that I really like, that collected just because I like those, and I'm not trying to complete the model numbers. So with that, like I said, it was just a quick and brief overview of those 13 suits in my collection. And hoping that as they build out, I'm going to get more and why they're in my collection. That's kind of like I like to explain why things are in my collection, because they're in a collection kind of for a reason now, why they get to stay there. And also, as I try to search for what's the best, because they don't always nail it with Hasbro. Sometimes because you just got to kind of go with what's the closest approximation to it. So if they come back and they do another Model 3 that's closer to how it's supposed to look, then I'll get that, and I'll toss that 80th out the window. I'm going to get the Secret Wars Model 4 Iron Man because I want the skates, because the skates were really, that was kind of some 2 through 4 thing, kind of thinking I'll go over that. So I'm going to get the skates, honestly, and just a few other things like that. So with that, let me know if you have an Iron Man, what's your favorite suit? Has Hasbro produced that suit yet? Or is there a series of figures where they put on multiples? That's your favorite one, or you think that this one was a better approximation, or put down where do you think I got this wrong? So with that, you guys have a great day, and I'll see you next time.